Hey everyone, well let's start with a number routine. So I have a piece of paper and a pencil and I'm going to do some things that we've done enough times that they're starting to feel, normal to you, right? So let's take a look at this number routine. The first thing we're going to be asked to do is decompose some numbers. So that's when we take a number and we stretch it apart and we look what's inside of it. We look at the tens. We look at the ones and we organize them in different ways. They all are 92, but we're going to stretch them out some different ways. So the easiest way to stretch out 92 is to say 92, right? And that's what we're looking at right here. We have 92. So you're just stretching the tens. 9 tens is 90. And you have the 2, 92. Another way to do that is to rip 92 and leave the 2 away, or I left the 2 alone, but then I even pulled that 90 apart even more. 5 plus 4 is 9, so I said 5 of those 10s plus 4 of those 10s would be 92. So I ripped the 10s apart there. This last one I did the opposite. I left the 10s alone, 90, but I ripped the 1s apart. 1 plus 1 is 2. So I decomposed 92 3 different ways. And that's what you're going to be asked to do. You're going to be decomposing 54 3 different ways. So the easiest way to do this is 50 and 4. But there are other ways to do it too, right? You could rip that 50 apart. You could rip that 4 apart. I've seen some kids do some very creative things with this. So I want you to feel the routine. And in Seesaw today, I want you to show me some different ways to decompose the number 54, right? So I could imagine 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. There's 50. And then I just have to do the 4. Ripping that 50 apart. Or you could leave the 50 alone and do something interesting with the 4. Like I happen to know that 2 plus 2 is 4. So 54, 54, 54, a whole bunch of different ways. Thank you. I'll erase all that hard work, make you do it on your own. This is one we're going to do together in groups. I'm going to have you break out into breakout rooms and talk about what you notice and what you see with this picture. All right, learning target today. We're going to be talking about inches, feet, and yards, those measurements that we have been learning this week, and maybe the way they relate to one another and how they can all be the correct answer. All right, so let's see here. We're going to pose a problem. Amelia measures a whiteboard to be 6 feet long. So here's her whiteboard. She started at the start, measured to the end, and it came up with 6 feet long. Her friend Rocco measured the same whiteboard and got 2 yards. And then Mateo, he measured the same whiteboard and got 72 inches. How can 2 yards, 6 feet, and 72 inches all be the correct answer? Well, it has everything to do with the way these units relate to each other, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, notice a difference here. Amelia's not using the same ruler as Rocco. So that means if one person's ruler is medium and one person's ruler is large, you're going to end up with different answers. Different units are going to give you different totals, different answers. So what do you notice about these? They're using different rulers. Maybe I'll show you this, I'm not sure. Yeah, here I'm just showing you that Amelia is using feet and Rocco is using yards. If you remember, a foot would be the distance between your hand and your elbow, so kind of medium size. And a yard would be something as stretched out as your arms could go. All right, so each measurement is based on the size. Which unit is larger? Well, yards are larger. Which measurement has a greater number? Feet have a greater number because it takes a lot more arms to measure that whiteboard than it does both your arms or yards. Interesting. Okay, so here she is measuring in feet, kind of medium-sized measures. She got 6 of them. Here's Rocco using yardsticks, much larger, right? So he got 2, she got 6. How are they related? Feet are smaller, but they add up to be yards. You can measure with either one. But you should know when you do so, you're going to get different numbers. Here are maybe some different kids. Again, here we have Amelia using feet, and we have Mateo using a tiny little measure called inches. So the fact that his is very tiny gives him a great big answer. It took 72 paper clips to get across that whiteboard, but it only took 6 feet to get across that same distance. Which one's bigger? Feet are bigger. Which one gave us a bigger answer? Inches, because they're so much smaller, right? So if I take a look at this, yep, that's what I just answered. Here we are measuring feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this one shouldn't be showing you feet again. What they should be showing you are tiny little inches that are shown on each one of these feet. So there should be 12 little lines on each one of these. And my guess is they didn't put the 12 lines because it would be hard to draw all those 12 lines on each one of those. But just know, Amelia's rule, her rulers are measuring in feet, which are medium, and Mateo is measuring in tiny little lines, which is why he's getting so many more than she did. Oh, here we got one. All right, so let's do a problem here. So we have a desk, and I'm going to measure it in inches, and then I'm going to measure it in yards. So here is 1 yard. This desk is 1 yard long. So it is 1 yard. Now, if I look on these rulers, you're going to see little tiny numbers, right? When I'm measuring in inches, I'm focusing on the numbers. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. See if we can't see these numbers. That's about as big as I can make it. So all the way from one side of the desk to the other, 12, 12, and 12. 3 feet, but I'm going to go inches. So let's see, 12 plus another 12 is 24, plus another 12, 36 inches. So even though I'm measuring the same desk, I'm using 2 different units. So even though I get very different numbers, they're both correct. 1 yard is the same distance as 36 inches. What do you think that pull tab has there? Which unit is smaller? Inches. How do inches relate to yards? Well, they're very small. It takes many of them to add up to be a yard. 36, in fact. On your own today, you're going to be measuring the classroom here. And then you're going to be asked which one would be fewer if you measured in feet or if you measured in yards. You should think about that. How big is a foot? How big is a yard? What would it look like if you were measuring the classroom? Which one would give us a smaller answer? Here, you're going to be measuring a bookcase, right? And you're going to be using inches to do that. And then it might ask you, would you have more inches or more yards if you were measuring this bookcase? And the idea is just relating those 2 units. So not only are you measuring, but you're thinking about, what if I would have measured with the other one? How would my answer change? I'm going to do a couple more. Here you are measuring in feet, right? And then they're going to think about what it would look like if you did inches. Here is a problem where 2 kids are going to be measuring a trumpet. They each have a different plan. You have to kind of think about their plan and respond to them. Help them. They need your thinking. And then the last one you're going to do is about Natalie's garden here. There's a question that asks, are there going to be more feet or more yards when I measure this garden? And then explain what you're thinking. We're not really looking so much for an answer on this one, just your thinking about those two units and how they relate. Now, there is a math game on the next slide that I want you to try. Thanks, everybody. Bye.